you're maybe not giving yourself enough time to get all those things done to come prepared. So you got to start adjusting a little bit about the way that you operate so you can come prepared and feel good and not have anything hanging over your head by the time we're ready to start this thing. Welcome back to another episode of Just Real Quick. I got Jared Everett on the call with me today and Mr. Joel Taylor. Today, we're going to be going over some JKR Windows best practices, and who better than these two gentlemen right here to help us cover this topic. So, Jared, why don't you start us out with top of mind best practices for JKR Windows, some of the stuff you feel like is the most important that we cover in the next 25 minutes.
Well, I have some bullet points here that we can go off of. And the first one I have is it's come prepared. And in parentheses, it says eat breakfast before jumpstart, pack a lunch, bring water and a battery pack to charge your phone. So I think we can start with, the importance of, like, say, for the jumpstart. If you eat before you get to the jumpstart, then you don't have to eat after the jumpstart, because that's when you start knocking. So instead of cutting into your knocking time, you come already prepared, having already eaten, instead of taking the extra time to stop at a gas station or whatever it takes to spend that time to get your calories in between the jump start and knocking time. But yeah, so that's the first one on there. You guys got any feedback on that one?
Absolutely. Joel, you got anything for us?
Oh, yeah. Look, specifically on this trip, we were short a few drivers. And so what you've got is a coordinator that's providing transportation for the three other coordinators. And if one of those three coordinators has to stop and go to the bathroom, or didn't get a battery, or runs out, arrives in area with 60% charge, right? And we didn't find out until, right, we're already in his area. I mean, that's opportunity being taken away from four other people in that car.
Right.
And I grew up, my initial door-to-door experience, Carter and I love to laugh. It's a bitter laugh, because when you're the one driving and you're trying to make sure everybody gets the area, and everybody's got one little thing they weren't ready for, it's you laugh. But at the same time, he and I started working with Aptiv, where they just drop you off at 10 a.m. and they don't pick you up until 10 p.m. and you better have, a sandwich in your pocket and a battery in your other pocket and a golf ball and everything you need, including an umbrella, because they're not coming back for you. And we can be like that.
Well, those are the kind of expectations that I believe that we have. We just need to do a better job at holding people to those standards. And, we got people that are in the process of maturing and taking on more responsibility in their life. So it's understandable sometimes, but then some of these things are just unacceptable. So we need to do some work on that. And for me, when it's time to go, you show up ready, and there is a certain amount of preparation that all of us are responsible for our own lives as adults to come prepared with. And that is having all of your stuff done in the morning. So when you get there, there is no other distractions. And for me, when I come to work, I'm right here across the hall from a refrigerator, and I've got a refrigerator full of snacks. So you won't see me leave here to go get food. You won't see me get distracted to do these silly things. I got a charger right here at my desk. I got food across the hall. I got everything I need. So for the next 6 hours straight, I'm going to be doing only productive, high impact actions. And that's the same thing that we need to get everybody on board for when it comes to showing up prepared for the jump start for the rest of the day. Is you got some food prepared, whether you're bringing a lunch pail or you got your pockets full of jerky and cheese sticks, whatever it is, you come prepared. So for the next 8-10 hours, you don't have to think about anything else besides what your responsibilities are. You've already got your studying out of the way before you get there. You've already got your reading, your journaling. Everything is done. We don't do jump starts till 9 o'clock. For me, I've already been up for 5 hours. That's plenty of time to get all those things done. And if you're getting up at 8:15 with barely enough time to squeak in at 8:59, you're maybe not giving yourself enough time to get all those things done to come prepared. So you got to start adjusting a little bit about the way that you operate so you can come prepared and feel good and not have anything hanging over your head by the time we're ready to start this thing.
And there's an aspect of like the Grant Cardone training where he says anywhere you have to get to, like say a meeting, for example, or a jumpstart, you get up at least 2 hours before you have to be there. Yep. Minimum 2 hours. So you got to be there 9 o'clock, minimum 7 o'clock. That should give you plenty of time, do whatever it is you need to do. Now, you can always take it a step above that, get up at 6, 5, 4 in some cases. If you want to get some extra things in, like your workout, things like this. And me, for example, the first thing that I do when I wake up, I do my Grant Cardone videos, because when you do those videos, you want to pay attention to them. We're doing them for a reason. We're getting value out of it. We're getting training. We're learning out of it. But also, if you attempt to do those videos later in the day, someone gives you a phone call, there's just a million random things that can happen and you get interrupted. And it's hard to be consistent with it day in and day out if that's the time of day that you allot to do that training. For me, like I said, I do it first thing when I get up. That's like my trigger to get up. I hear Grant Cardone's voice. That's like my trigger to wake up, basically. I get it done. I get it done consistently, and there's never interruptions. So, and getting up 2 hours before, that should give you plenty of time to get some productive things and get something to eat. Get your lunch packed together. Make sure your phone's charged up. Make sure you have a battery pack. That's always going to help. A fully charged phone can get you through most of the day, but you have that, and you might be kind of worrying about it. And maybe you're stopping at a restaurant and trying to plug it into the wall or doing whatever kind of creative thing it is that you're trying to do to get that extra charge. But if you simply just come prepared with a battery pack, that's another thing. You just take it out of anything you have going on. It's just not a part of your process. So you're going to be more efficient,
Correct. Yep. And you don't have to start day one and have all these things dialed in. The reason we put these things together is to point people in the direction that's going to start to help you bring more value in your life. And if you continue to do the same things over and over and over, you're going to get the same results. So this is an opportunity for you to take some of the things that work for us, some of the suggestions and the ideas, and start applying little bits at a time to maybe wake up a half an hour earlier, to start playing around with some different ideas for packing food with you and having snacks. And, go buy a $15 battery charger. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I just bought one the other day because I needed another one. And, I've lost a couple. My kids take them. I've got them in all my vehicles. But I just bought another one. It was $15. So that way I've got one here also. I've got a plug that I can plug it in right to the wall. Or if I'm back and forth doing meetings and talking to everybody, I just got the thing plugged in. I stick it in my back pocket and I'm ready to go. So there's all these little suggestions that you don't have to do them all at the same time, but start doing a little bit of them to start implementing them to make your life a little bit more organized. And so you can come a little bit more prepared.
Awesome. All right. So let's, so there's different aspects of what we have for best practices. I have how to scout a neighborhood, which times a day to knock, parking in a neighborhood, code of conduct in a neighborhood, conduct on the door. So we could talk at length about a lot of these things, but just to, I guess, keep it simple. Let's start with parking in the neighborhood, some best practices there. And Joel, if you wouldn't mind covering that for us.
Absolutely. That's only appropriate because I was the one that when I was knocking for Aptive, Mitch my regional let me borrow his car, and I parked it in front of a vacant field. And when I came back, it had a sticker on it that said, "The city of Memphis is going to tow this thing." So generally speaking, I do know where not to park, and I feel authorized to talk about that for a minute. Good places to park. If you're going to park in front of somebody's house, it's a good idea to go up and ring the bell and make that your first contact and say, "Hey, it's your icebreaker. I'm Joel. I'm with JKR Windows. I was just wondering if I can park in your front yard," right? If you can't find anybody at home, you can park in between two property lines. The best thing to do, though, is to park on the side of a block, especially if there's some sort of a privacy fence or a privacy hedge, something like that. Church parking lots, you can park inside the church parking lot like I am right now, or you can park curbside next to a church or a different kind of public building. You don't want to block a fire hydrant, and you don't want to block a driveway. And the last thing you want to do is sit in your car in your neighborhood and crank up the music really loud on your brake.
Yep. Easy as that. I mean, some of these things they're common sense, but it never hurts to get a little reminder that, you don't want to block somebody's driveway, even if it's a side driveway, and fire hydrant, anything that's going to draw any attention to you. And then also be careful about pulling into people's property. I got arrested one time because I backed into a property just to do a U-turn. And, granted, I didn't have a driver's license, but I backed in. I made a couple of ruts in the dirt after it had just rained. And then I just parked right there to go to my friend's house. And when I came back out, there was a police officer out there. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. Something silly as that had gotten enough attention for that neighbor that owned that property to call the cops. And I didn't have a driver's license, and they took me to jail that day. So I'm not saying that's going to happen to anybody here, because we got Nathan all squared away with his criminal background.
Yes, we do.
But anything that is going to draw attention to you, try and stay away from. And there's all of these different areas that are going to be outside of somebody's property and along the streets where you're not going to be blocking anything, or in a church parking lot where you may have to walk a little bit further, but just use your best judgment.
And, a nice segue is to actually have a segue as well. That's another thing.
There you go. I like
best
that.
Practices. So even if you park in a church parking lot or wherever it is that you feel comfortable parking, is again, as long as it's not a situation that's drawing negative attention towards you, then you just hop on your segue from there and scoot on out of there. So if you got to roll a little extra distance, it's not a big deal because you're on that segue. And, the reason why I got a segue is because the way that I viewed it was, okay, I'm going to be able to hit more doors with less physical effort. So which should make me more efficient. So if I'm able to put less effort forward and hit more doors, that's going to equal more sales for me. And one sale pays for that segue. And now every extra sale that I get because of that compounding effect of being able to hit more doors and be more efficient, that thing pays for it. It's like an investment, and it pays for itself over and over and over again. 100%. And I remember the first time when I made the decision to buy one. It was when I had first started. I had a knocking partner. He was on one side of the neighborhood. I was on the other side, and I'm up and down these hills, and it's hot, and I'm just like, dang, breathing heavy, and he's just zipping by. He's like, "What's up, dude?" And I was like, "Yeah, I gotta get me one of those." So segways are awesome, but while we're talking code of conduct in the neighborhood in terms of parking, let's also talk about code of conduct for, say, when we're just walking down the sidewalk or going to knock on doors, or what we do while we're waiting for someone to answer the door.
Yeah,
what you got, Joel?
Or Joel, go ahead.
Jeff.
If that's all right, look. One of the appointments that I ran in Winchester Hills was hilarious. We had like a comedy hour where she pulled up her Ring camera and started going through all the door knockers. It was the who's who of door to door. And I saw all the what not to do's. It was hilarious because you'd have guys that ring the doorbell and they know they're on camera. So they walk away and turn their back. So you can't, how shady does that look? You don't know what they're doing, right? There's also, I guess there are gadgets that turn off the Ring camera. So the Ring camera will go black. How shady does that look? Yes, what are you doing on my porch that you have to turn off my camera to do it? How shady is that? Right?
Wow.
And just how people stand. Yeah. So the training that we do, we're very specific about standing far enough away that you're non-threatening when you're not in their bubble when they open the door. You're standing sideways so that you don't stand squared off and look threatening. You leave a little psychological egress. We always like to tell the guys to look a little bit busy, right? When someone opens the door, so you don't look like you're desperately waiting for them to open the door. Can I talk to you today? Like a puppy waiting for his master to come home, right? You look up from your work. Oh, just real quick. And sometimes if you stand there and you're silent long enough, they're the first ones to talk. And then that's an interesting dynamic. That sets the tone for the rest of the interaction. If you can wait for them to engage you.
Now, how about taking pictures of people's homes?
I got in trouble for that too, dude. And Andres, oh, it was so funny. You guys want the story, or should I just tell you not to do that?
Yeah, let's keep it short. We know how your stories go, Joel.
Yeah, you better.
But yeah, I think that's why I said that, Joel, because I know, I've gotten the cops called on me for various reasons, but like I said earlier, we want to do things that aren't going to draw attention to us. We're there with a purpose. We're there to help people and educate them about replacement windows. We're not there to scout the neighborhood. We've already done that before we got there. So we're going from house to house as efficiently and as quickly as possible. And in between, you're entering the information that you need to from the last door. And all you're ever doing is just making sure that this house fits our criteria and going to hit it. And the only reason realistically that it wouldn't fit our criteria is if they already have our windows.
Yeah.
But even then, we encourage our people to go and stop by and just do a quick pop by and ask them how they're doing and how their experience was. And we'd love to get a testimonial from you if you already haven't done it. Do you mind doing a quick video for me and tell me about your experience working with JKR Windows? But other than that, for me, it was always, how much can I possibly do in this little bit of time that I have out here? I got the next 2 hours and I got this amount of area to cover in the next 2 hours. And if you're lollygagging and, taking your time in between homes, there's only so much you can accomplish doing that. So for me, it was all about time efficiency and maximizing the amount of doors that I could hit in that period of time that I was out there. So in between doors, I'm entering the information. So by the time I'm walking up to that next door, I'm hitting the go button, it's saved, and they're answering so I can talk to them and do the same thing I did at the last one.
And to add to what you're saying about talking to people that have our windows as well in neighborhoods, sometimes they didn't do the whole house. So There's been tons of situations where we just go check on a customer and they actually have more windows that need to be done. And then that equals a sale for the coordinator. It's happened time and time again. So would definitely encourage you guys along with, just asking some questions, getting a testimonial, all that, seeing how everything's going. Also ask, were you guys able to get the whole home done as well? Because we'd love to get out and, honor that. Like we said, I don't know if you guys remember, but we had a 3-year discount where we honor that discount. So we'd love to get back over and, get you a bid on the rest of your windows. Mm-hmm. Now, also being as efficient as possible, that's super important. But we also, as say, we're walking down the sidewalk, we don't want to make it seem like, again, we don't want to draw negative attention. So say when I'm walking down the sidewalk, I'm conscientious of the neighborhood. If there's neighbors outside, for whatever reason, this may just be me, but my initial reaction to seeing people in their front yard, I would try to avoid them because it's just like weird. It just felt weird to try to approach them. I would like walk past them and go knock on someone's door, and that looks more shady than anything, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into the neighborhood and you see people like, someone doing some yard work or whatever, those are great people. Like the first person you should go talk to, because when they're outside and they see you walk around their neighborhood and like, they'll get suspicious. They're like, what's this guy doing? Especially if you're acting like you're avoiding them, it's going to make it even more suspicious. So, eat that frog, go talk, have that be the first person that you go talk to. And you'd be surprised that you might be able to set an appointment with them. I don't know how many appointments I set from my Segway. I didn't even get off the Segway, just rolled up on them in the front yard. I'm doing little twirls and stuff for them too, because people love Segways. So do some tricks and stuff for them, set an appointment, roll out of there,
There you go. Yep.
And they can also give you information about the neighborhood. You'd be surprised, if they'll start talking about the neighbors, just ask them, do you know any of your neighbors that would be interested in our program? Stuff like that. You'd be surprised. Or ask which ones are renting or whatever. People just start spilling the beans for the neighborhood. Yeah. And now you've got, now this is a warm neighborhood and not a cold neighborhood because people's names, who's a renter, who's not a renter, et cetera.
Yeah, people love helping out. That's, something everybody deals with, especially early on in your sales career where you're a little timid and it's a little uncomfortable. And in our normal personal lives, you don't necessarily just start out of the bag being able to go and initiate conversations with people, just all this charisma just pouring out of you. That wasn't how we started, but it is a great practice. So every time that you have that opportunity, feel that anxiety, feel the fear, but you got to do it anyways. And the more times you do it, the more repetitions, the better you get at it. And you just walk up with a smiley face and just say something silly. You know, depending on what's going on, it's like a beautiful day for gardening or a great day for a walk, or I just caught you at the perfect time. I'll only be a second if they're grabbing groceries out of the car or something. This is you doing them a disservice if you switch by them. So just act like it's nothing. You're supposed to be here and just initiate that conversation. And the more times you do it, the easier it's going to get.
We don't have in our best practices, we don't usually drill how to knock on a garage door or how to knock on a car's door. But I can't tell you how many times I've approached people in the front yard or in a garage or pulling out of the driveway, and just, there's a way to do it. Yeah. And I can't tell you, that really helps your margin, because you're going to catch more people at home. If you're afraid to catch them before they drive off, you know, what if that was the one door in that neighborhood that you needed to hit? And I
don't know how many appointments I've set with people still sitting in the driver's seat of their car as they were trying to back out and leave. I just go stand behind them and I'm waving in their rear view mirror as they're trying to back out. And then they got to roll down the window and talk to you. Yeah. And then as long as you have a smile on your face and you go up and initiate that conversation and just go right into it, you'll be surprised how lucky you can get on those ones. Because otherwise you just miss an opportunity. They're leaving and they're not coming back in the amount of time that you would need to be able to set an appointment.
Well, and if somebody's driving a nice car and you compliment them on their car, that's an instant icebreaker. I remember once somebody was pulling out of they had a long bed pickup and it had the extended cab, and they're pulling out of the garage. And I said, man, how do you fit that in there? I keep waiting for it to be out, but it just keeps coming. And they're laughing, and then, and then you're into your script. It's really fun to knock doors on, knock car doors.
It is. Yep. And I bet you didn't start out like that though, Joel.
We're getting pretty close to that 30-minute mark, but we're moving right along perfectly with these bullet points. So the last item that we'll cover is, time of days to knock. Which time of days are the best to knock? In the morning, evening? So obviously we're trying to get out to in area as fast as possible post jumpstart. So once the jumpstart's done, everybody, they already have their area. They know where they're going. They're going straight out to area. So typically what we do is, so the expectation is minimum 6 hours a day to knock. Obviously you can do more than that if you'd like, but that's the minimum. And generally you want to do like a 3-hour run right there in the morning, post jumpstart. Now, where it gets a little bit different is when, say, summertime compared to wintertime, because there's like 3-4 less hours of daylight in the wintertime than there is in the summertime. Yeah. So say, just generally speaking, for summertime, what a lot of people have had success with, they get out right after the jump start, and it's important, like we spoke about, to be prepared, because there's kind of this golden hour right in the morning time. We talk about the golden hour in the evening time, but in the morning time, right there about in between 9:30 and maybe 11 or so, people they haven't really gone out to do errands. They're not going out to get lunch, and there's a lot of contact that you can make in that time. So it's really important. I mean, when we've been in St. George, knocking in downtown St. George, like literally minutes from the office, we've had same days closed in less than an hour. Like they went and knocked the door. We got the director there, super fast appointment, boom, hour later, we got a same day closed.
Yep.
And what if that coordinator decided to go get some breakfast after that? Or excuse me, after the jump start, instead of going get right on the door? They probably would have missed that opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing to remember, is that there's a ton of value in both times of the day, the mornings and the evenings. And we have some people that knock all day. And the thing is they always catch people. Yeah. And the people that you catch in the morning may not be in a blue collar community, may not be as regular as if you're knocking after 6 o'clock. But I'll tell you what, those people that you caught in the morning are likely not going to be there in the evening. And the same thing for those people that are there in the evening. All those people that you caught in the morning are there in the morning. I think I said that backwards, but you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's always the group of people that's around in the mornings that's not in the evenings, and that's around in the evenings that's not in the mornings. And if you're just sticking to one time during the day to go knock, then you're missing out on opportunities with people that we can help, but you're just not knocking when they're home.
Yep. And then we also have the Saturday. So the way we do it is we'll go through a neighborhood in the morning time for the first run. Anybody that any homes we don't make contact with in the morning time, we go through an evening run. Just like Jefferson said, it's like you hit the certain people in the morning time, certain people in the evening time, vice versa. And then there's certain people that you don't hit either time. But if you get out there on a Saturday, you just might be able to make some contact with them. And a lot of times it's the people that are the hardest to get a hold of that are the easiest sell, because if they're busy, they probably got some stuff going on. They probably make a decent income, and they're so busy that maybe they do know that they have a problem with their windows, but they just haven't made the decision to put forth the effort to get going with it because they're just so busy. And here we come, sent from guys above to come offer them this great opportunity to get windows. That's really important. Now, Joel, do you want to kind of describe what the afternoon looks like for time as compared to, if you could break down, Joel, the difference in knocking hours between summertime and wintertime?
Absolutely.
For the afternoon.
Well, to be completely honest, there is at least one way in which it's no different, right? Between the hours of 6 and 8, it's still the best time to catch people at home. The only difference is, it happens to get a little dark. But here's what we found. You've got, we hired this guy. His name is Drake. And he's reminded us that, guys, it's okay to knock till 9 o'clock at night.
Even if it's dark outside.
Even if it's dark outside. And so he started pushing, everybody else was like 8:30. That's a good time to knock. I remember knocking with Kaya in December till 8:30 in Cedar City, trudging through snow and ice below, and it was cold. And I thought, well, that was great. We knocked till 8:30. And then along comes Drake, and he's brand new, and he's just like knocks until 9. I'm like, dang. So now we're all trying to keep up with Drake. But the fact of the matter is, right now, you look at what's going on in Payson. Kaya is knocking till she's knocking till 8:30. She's knocking in neighborhoods where people have already left. People left areas of Payson and said, I'm going to go and look, we're going to go and branch out. I don't like this hood. And we've got enough area that we can be a little picky. So I've got people in Spanish Fork, and I've got people in, we sent the pod down to Lehigh, Santa Quinn. We got people in Springville. And here's Kaya. She's still knocking in Payson, and she knocks until 8:30 every night. I'm telling you, those golden hours, man. And sometimes all it takes is one or two guys to step up and show us how.
It is just a mindset thing. It's a little funny when you start knocking doors at night, but once you've done it long enough and you've seen other people do it, it helps you with your belief level that it's the same time as any other day. You're going to run into the people that are a little disgruntled in the middle of the day, just as you're going to run into them after dark. You just perceive it a little bit different after dark because of the tricks that your mind is playing on you. In the winter time, you're doing yourself a disservice, and we're, of course, doing our customers a disservice by not going and trying to catch them after the sun goes down, because that's where we're in those blue collar communities. We're going to have the best chances of catching people at home is from 6 to 8 o'clock and even 9 o'clock. Your conversion rates, your contact rates are going to be the best during those times. And don't downplay the winter times and the effectiveness of going and knocking at night because of the games your mind is playing on you. And
it'll show up in the numbers too.
And a lot of times, 6 is definitely the best time, but it's definitely good if you can get out there a little bit earlier than that, 5:30. Sometimes even people get out there 4:30. Like Jefferson said, we get people that will knock all day. Joel, I've seen you knock like 9-10 hours a day. Most of the days you knock.
Yeah.
And you're making contact with people, so it's really any time of day. There's always there's always an opportunity. You just got to find it. And if you have the positive mindset that you're going to go out there, you're going to find it, you'd be surprised at how often you go out there and you accomplish that. However, on the other side of it, if it's like, oh, this time of day is bad, that like whatever you put on it, whatever, negative mindset you put on it, or I don't like to talk to people after dark or whatever it is, it's just going to make it that much worse. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Either way you look
That's
at
right.
it, positively.
What you think about, you bring about. So you
Yep.
may as well think about stuff in a positive light that's going to lead you towards accomplishing your goals.
Absolutely.
All right, gentlemen, did we cover all of our best practices today?
Yeah, man. I think you got them all. That was awesome, J-Rod. That's a great list.
I feel good about it. And of course, we'll continue to evolve this list and add more. There's plenty of other things when it comes to mindset and belief and approach that we'll be adding in future episodes. But for today, we'll call it. I appreciate everybody for making it this far into the podcast and being intentional about improving your skills. That's what it takes to become a professional, is being intentional about improving your skills and always seeking new information. So thank you, Jared. Thank you, Joel, for being on with me today. And until next time, we out.